Welcome to the AI+HI Project. I'm Nichol Bradford, SHRM's Executive in Residence for AI+HI. Thanks for joining us. Each week, we sit down with visionaries from the worlds of business, tech, and HR to provide you with deep insights, actionable strategies, and practical advice for harnessing the transformative potential of artificial intelligence combined with human ingenuity. This week, we're exploring AI and workplace culture transformation with Michael C. Bush, CEO of Great Place to Work, and a thought leader in inclusivity, trust, and technology's role in enhancing employee experiences. Michael, welcome to the AI+HI Project.
Nichol, thank you very much. Very happy to be with you today.
So I am such a fan. I read your book a few years ago and have wanted to meet you for a very long time. And so the book, everyone, is called A Great Place to Work. And Michael, could you start out by sharing with our audience just the basics? Like, what makes a workplace truly a great place to work? And why is this essential in today's environment?
Thank you, Nichol. And it really comes down to one word, and that word is trust. So we have an employee survey that 25,000 companies use each year around the world in over 170 countries. And we ask their employees 60 questions. Some people say, well, can it be 12 questions? If I could do it in 12, I'd do it in 12. But we ask 60 questions, and what we are measuring is trust. We're measuring whether or not you feel that you trust your people leader, whether or not you feel that you trust management, that you may not know, or you may not only see on a video screen, but people who have never met their CEO can tell you whether they trust their CEO or not. And we measure whether or not you trust the people that you work with and you feel cared for by those people. Because what we know is that 70% of the employee experience comes from the experience that employees have with their people leader. The rest comes from the pride in the work that they do and the people that they actually work with. And so we feel like a great place to work is one where you can be yourself and that you feel cared for as a person, not just an employee. And it's something that you can measure and you can quantify. Because if you can do that, then you can let leaders know what they need to do to create a more high trust experience. They can work on that and improve the situation for the employees. So trust is what it's all about. And we also add for all. So we talk a lot about being a great place to work for all, because every workplace is a great place to work for some people. The key is it a great place to work for all people? Because you're paying people, you're heating people, you're cooling people, you're training people. Why not get the best out of absolutely everybody in the workplace? So that's what we try and do in our analytics, help companies know what they can do to make sure that the workplace is a great place to work for all.
One of the things that really intrigues me about trust, especially as it relates to AI, is, at SHRM, we do a lot of research. We are studying the determinants of success and also the determinants of failure for the integration of AI into organizations. And trust is really showing up. I'd love to hear your thoughts on a high trust culture and how to have a successful AI integration at work.
Yeah. So you said the key word. It's always been important. It's really, really important right now. So for example, if you go to a workplace and you ask the employees a few questions like, do you want to be here a long time? That tells you a lot when a person answers that question. And I'll tell you, when a person gets to that question, they always pause before they select the response. We always know when they're at that question because the person's deciding whether they want to commit their future to the company. And you only want to do that if you trust the workplace. And so when you've got something like AI that's coming into the workplace, it's coming into all workplaces. If you have a feeling like, I don't really want to work here a long time, or I don't really feel like the company treats me like I'm a person, they don't care about my well-being, they treat me like I'm an employee. Or if there are layoffs, and I think the company could have done other things before laying people off. We feel a high trust workplace. Employees should feel that a layoff is a last resort. It's one of our questions. So we know from our questions, the experience that the employee's having, and based on the score, we could say, you're going to have a tough time augmenting work with AI here. Because when trust is low, people think that AI is meant to replace them. When trust is low, people feel like AI is for some people and not for other people. And if it's for some people and not for other people, some people are going to get left behind. So trust has a lot to do with the adoption and the experimentation. We ask people whether or not they're willing to give extra effort. We don't say, if we pay you, are you willing to give extra effort? We say, are you willing to give extra effort? This lets us know the kind of experience that a person is having, because when a person says, I'm almost always willing to give extra effort, they're only going to say that in a place that they trust, in a place that they care about, in a place that they feel cared for. So as AI is coming, based on our methodology and our scoring, we can say, look, we've got some specific recommendations for you based on your low trust score on how you augment. And another place where the trust level's high, we say, hey, we have a different recommendation for you. You should move faster, because people here are very excited and they're not worried and fearful of the technology. They're actually interested in doing it so the organization can fulfill its purpose.
I want to double click on the how to in a moment, because that's so intriguing. But before that, I was looking at the Gallup Trust Survey, the several trust surveys this year, and the trust in leadership, especially around AI, is so low. And I don't know if people really understand that interrelationship between actually getting your organization to support the shift in the business architecture with all of their creativity, all of their passion, if they don't trust. So, what are some of the things that an organization can do to create trust? Like, if they know that they don't have it yet, how do you transform that culture?
Yeah, that's the hard work, and it's all about the leaders. It's all about the leaders. For example, let's take a place where there's low trust that has paternity leave. People won't take it. We have the data to prove it. They kind of feel like, yeah, I know I have the benefit, but I'm getting whispers to tell me if I take it, it's going to affect my career growth. This happens in the real world every day. So that's a low trust workplace. So at a place where people aren't willing to take paternity leave or cut short their maternity leave, and you say, hey, we're implementing AI and we're doing it for the good of everybody, it's going to be good for you too. At that workplace, I can tell you, the fear level is going to be high because the trust level is low. Whereas if you've got a leader who is saying, you've got paternity leave, you should take it. And by the way, when my turn comes, I'm going to take it. Then that's different, because now you've got a company saying something and actually leading in a way that makes everybody feel like, I can trust what my leader is saying. So if you've got a leader who is not a great people leader, and as you know, Nichol, there's a lot of those. When that leader says, hey, we're augmenting your work with AI, we're not trying to eliminate your job, people are like, yeah, right. So a poor leader in the non-AI world is going to be a terrible leader in the AI world. You can't fix leadership with AI. So you still need, that's why it comes down to leadership. It's really important, that relationship that person has with the person that is working for them. And this is where leaders need to put their emphasis. This is where companies need to put their emphasis to make sure that trust is restored at a certain level, or you're going to have a really terrible time. And we're already seeing some of that already occurring, where some companies, for example, are laying off headcount, saying it's due to AI. And if you double click, you find out it's not due to AI. They're just laying people off. And in some cases, maybe in advance of AI. Though that's not the way to implement technology.
Is that willingness to take paternity leave question, is that an indicator of trust? Is that one of the questions that's the most indicative of whether or not there's trust in an organization?
Yeah, that's not the one that's the most indicative. The one that's the most indicative is whether or not you feel like if there's a layoff, it'll be a last resort. That's the most powerful question that we have, because that lets you know how an employee feels. And I will tell you, there are companies that do layoffs every year, like Cisco does, and people still say it's a last resort. 8 out of 10 people will say that because of the way they do it. It's a way of working. They communicate it. They talk about it all the time. They talk about their methodology. They talk about their shareholder circle, all the stakeholders that are involved, and why they're always going to be trimming to have money to invest in new technology. So it's a cultural accepted way of doing business. So that's how you can still cut people, but do it in a high trust way. In terms of AI, the questions that are the most important is am I cared for as a person? It's a well-being question. If you feel like the workplace cares about your mental health, cares about your physical health, and cares about your financial health for you and your families, you define it, you're ready to go on AI. You are ready to go on AI. If those things aren't true, then you're not ready to go on AI. So the well-being score is the best predictor on whether there'll be resistance or acceptance. The paternity leave question is one where it's a case of a company having a great benefit, but people know better than to take it. It's just like companies that have mental health benefits and people know, don't ever use the mental health benefit. It's not going to work for you. It's going to come up in a growth conversation or a promotion conversation. Well, it seems like you were having some issues. We're not so sure if we want to promote you. That's a low trust workplace. That works in that way.
I love how much data you have. And just because, a great place to work has been also operating for such a long time, you're perfect for this moment, really, for people to really understand what matters. But I have the thought that you also see how workplaces are evolving because you see the range. And so how do you see AI shaping workplace evolution, and what sort of opportunities are you seeing based on, the data that you have and the trends that you see in organizations?
Yeah, right now what we're seeing is a high level of fear. So that's kind of right now, and people feel like that of all the stakeholders that exist in an organization, the shareholders is going to become even more powerful. And so whenever the shareholder, the owner becomes much more powerful than the others, then things get tilted in that direction. And there are programs that get cut because you want to get those returns to the shareholder. Well, when you're bringing in AI in that kind of an environment, which is the one we're in right now, people think, oh, AI is just about so I think they can cut people. Because when you cut people, your stock price goes up. That's happened today. It happens in any time that there's a layoff. So this is the situation, and companies that are doing it the right way are making sure that everybody is involved in the AI augmentation, for example, not just some part of the organization. And we have recommendations that we make to companies on an orderly way to do the implementation, because an employee needs to feel like somehow they're going to be better off as a result. And we believe there's a way of actually doing that.
Oh, could you share a couple of those, like some of the practical frameworks or ways that people can, do an implementation? What are the things that you tell
Yeah.
your companies?
So we say you should have a for all approach. So make sure everybody has access to Copilot. Make sure not just some people. Everybody, has a, if you've got, if you're using Microsoft, that everybody can use Copilot. If you're using Salesforce, that anybody using Salesforce has access to their agent force, and so on. And you do that in a careful, rolled out way. You give people guidelines of don't put your kids' names in the tool. Don't start saying happy birthday to people using the tool. This is kind of for work. And so just put work data in there, but don't put this work data in there. You have to give people some guardrails. But what you want is everybody experimenting. And Copilot's a pretty safe way of experimenting. Things that are available on Slack and some of the other channels, the AI tools, are safe ways of people experimenting when give them guidelines. And so the idea here is for all. It's not for some. Everybody should be involved in it. We also have, for companies that are really thinking about this for the long term, we tell them to don't say there's going to be millions of jobs created with AI. because you're masking the fact that there's going to be millions of jobs lost due to AI. And so if you have a high trust culture, you should be able to say there's going to be a lot of jobs created and there's going to be a lot of jobs lost, because it's a fact. It's already happening. Fact number two is the new jobs that are created won't all get filled by people who lost the job. That's an important fact. Companies don't like saying it, but it's true. And actually employees can handle the truth. Matter of fact, trust goes up when you tell them the truth. Employees don't like not being told the truth. So anyone who's saying, oh, don't worry, that you're not going to lose your job, you just shouldn't say that. You just shouldn't say that. And then number three, you should let people know that you're going to augment their job with AI. You are going to be expecting them to be able to do more and to do better things, more intelligent things using this technology. And that it's going to make them more valuable. Because anybody now who updates their LinkedIn profile saying, hey, I'm a go-to-market specialist and I'm now using these different AI tools, that person's really valuable. And people are looking for that person. And then that we accept the challenge that when we're making you more valuable, we're going to create the kind of culture here that makes you want to stay here. It's on us. So it's that whole series of statements, to tell the whole story for the individual, that this idea of, you're going to work here for the next 10 or 15 years, it's just not true anymore. It's just not true. So it's a different kind of level of conversation, which employees respect. We know, we score it. Companies who communicate this way, they trust management. They say management just involves us in decisions that affect our work. We have a high degree of confidence in the way that management is making decisions leading the company. We believe promotions are fair and go to those who deserve them. Nobody knows how promotions work, but when the trust level is high, people will say, we think they're fair, and they go to the people that deserve them. So this leader role and transparent communication goes a long way in affecting the employee sentiment and trust level with the company.
To go back just a little bit, you were talking about the new roles and the transition of the old roles. Is that what you mean by innovation for all as well, or innovation by all? Is that a part of supporting employee potential, and then also, they're a part of figuring out what might happen next?
Yeah, so we have, thank you you definitely read the book. So we have this notion called innovation by all that we've been scoring since 2018. And it's where we ask a series of questions, the most important one being, how many times are you asked for new ways or better ways to do your work? That's essentially the question. And we say a lot, some, or none. We just make it easy for the employee. And an employee that says a lot is basically saying they feel good about their involvement in their work and decisions that are being made related to their work. And when they say a lot, they're very open to AI implementation. It's a one-to-one direct correlation. If someone says, I'm never asked for ideas on how to improve things, they have the highest fear level of around new ideas, adapting to change, agility, and those kinds of things. So that one question is a lot. And we believe, even before AIs, we've been scoring this a long time, that a workplace full of people who feel like, as we believe, every employee with a smartphone, which is every employee, should be asked to innovate for the company. And innovation takes extra effort. That's why we have another question about that. So we feel everybody should be an innovator in the company. There shouldn't be a chief innovation officer. It should be everybody. And companies should periodically have ways of asking and getting input, which is what great leaders do. They ask questions, they're humble, they learn. The ultimate show of respect is to ask a person what they think about something and fully consider it. When putting a work plan or making a business decision together, the ultimate show of respect is when an employee's talking, to listen and ask questions, being willing to change your mind, being willing to change your point of view. That's what we think listening is. And in an innovative culture, these things are true. And then when you've got that kind of a culture, AI adoption is as fast as you're expecting it to be, because it doesn't have the friction And so this innovation by all, we actually score it. We have something called an innovation velocity ratio, where we can tell you how much friction there is in your company, how many people are feeling, very innovative, how many people are feeling shut out. If that's for every two people that are innovative and two people are shut out, that's a that's a dysfunctional company. But in great companies, you'll find 10 people very excited and innovate and energetic about the future, and two who are resisting.
One of the things that I loved from the top of our chat is you said if bad leadership is, gets amplified by AI. And one of the things that we've noticed as we've been looking for successful implementations is that it's basically the companies that were the innovators before, and so they're just taking this new thing, and they already have an innovation culture. They already have a trust culture. They already have a culture where everybody knows that they are that they need to adapt. And so it's already in there, and they just take it and they put it in, and the adoptions are very, very quick. One of the questions that I have, if you could, and I've seen a little bit on this, but one of the big questions that people often have about well-being or some of these other things around how one communicates to employees is they wonder, how does the measurement align with returns for the company? I know you've done a bit of research on that. Could you speak to the benefits of having a great place to work?
Yeah. So we've done a lot of studies on stock performance. FTSE Russell does an analysis of the companies that are publicly traded that we say are a great place to work, and compares that to the S&P 500, the Russell 1000, and the Russell 3000. And so the Russell 3000 is 97.7% of the of the stock market, which is about $56 trillion today. And companies that are on our list outperform the Russell 3000 by 3 to 1. The return has been ridiculously great. There are hedge fund managers and mutual funds that just buy our list every year. So that's well documented and publicly available. FTSE Russell does that research. Jefferies also takes our list companies every year and does a really in-depth research on the stock performance, the free cash flow performance, the EBITDA performance, and so on, of being a company that's a great place to work. Because a place where everybody's happy that's losing money, that's a horrible place to work. A great place to work, the line should follow all the way through. So there's a lot of data that is available to that. And you can actually, Google it, go to our website. Anybody can send me a note as well. I'm available on LinkedIn, and I can get you the detailed data and report. The other thing is the, well-being, something that you mentioned, Nichol, that when people are having a positive well-being experience, they're 4 times more likely to say they want to stay at the company a long time. That's 4 times more likely. When people are having a positive well-being experience, they're 3 times more likely to recommend your company's products and services to friends and family. And they're 3 times more likely to recommend to a friend, hey, you should come work at our company, which is really a statement of pride. And they're 2 times more likely to say, I'm really proud of what I get done at my company. So those are just it's all about the metrics for us. That you ought to be able to do these things and go right to financial, and the attrition benefit when people want to stay a long time. The business benefit when people want to recommend your company to friends and family. What happens when somebody is proud, beyond swag proud, but proud to say, I work at this place, because what they're saying is, this place is doing good things in society. That's what makes somebody proud. I like the way, and we ask questions about that we affect the community, that affect the community and, that we live in, and those kinds of things. So there's a direct line to the things that we're talking about in terms of being a great place to work, about trust, about fear, psychological safety, and economic return.
One of the things that we're hearing from our audience that they're, really struggling with and really thinking a lot about is the change management, because this change management is different than, the old-fashioned change management, because the business architecture shifts often come up from, the innovators, the employee innovators across the organization. What are some strategies that leaders can employ, or how should they be thinking about change management in the context of AI?
I think helping employees learn about generative AI and not just watch the horror movies, talking about the future. I think companies have a responsibility to help people understand what generative AI is. When there's a robot, you can see the robot and go, yeah, that's going to replace my job. I actually can see that and I actually get it. That's totally different than generative AI because people don't understand what it is, and they don't understand how it's going to affect them. So there's a lot of blogs. There's so much free in terms of classes on Coursera. There are free classes everywhere, helping people begin to understand what machine learning is. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know programming.
What about the communication, though? Sort of like the internal communication. What I've learned from our conversation, it's really about, it's the three things you laid out earlier, is that, you have to be honest about it. You have to say that, yes, there's going to be new jobs, and also there's going to be job loss. Like, this is going to happen, and you're a part of it. And so there's sort of those big messages, but the actual, process of changing an organization, because I'll tell you also why I'm asking that question is that, so AI implementations fail at twice the rate of IT implementations because they're not IT implementations. They're social, cultural, behavioral changes. And so, let's assume I'm at an organization and it might not be a great place to work. Maybe it's an okay place to work, but I know that we have to bring in AI to compete. And so I have a choice. I can do it well. I think I can endeavor to become a great place to work that can be a part of it. Like, what do I do? If you're advising me to make that shift to do the change management both for AI and for my culture at the same time.
Well, Nichol, as you know, if you talk to any organizational development specialist or somebody who's familiar with change management, large transformation, they know, if they're consultants, for example, when they walk in a company, they know it's not going to work here. Now, they'll take the money and do the work, but they already know it's not going to work. Because it's all about the trust level in the company. Because when there's low trust, there's friction. There's the resistance wall. You cannot get over it. So what you find is a lot of employee turnover during the change management. So the change management becomes, let's swap the people out. This is common. This happens. So you can't take a place that's a low trust workplace and have an excellent change management approach. It just doesn't work because it's a low trust workplace where managers and leaders tell half truths, where there's people who are in and people who are out. There's some people who are treated one way and some people that are treated another way. You can be, Peter Drucker. It doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to be able to put change in that place. That's why it's company specific. So the things, for example, that I mentioned around how to communicate honestly, there are some people, probably no one in our audience, but there are some people who will hear those things and go, we will never do that. I've been in the room with executives when I said what I just said in Davos last year. The reaction was mixed. They were like, we don't want to say that. And I'm like, you probably should think about saying it because it's true. Yeah, I know, but we don't want to say that. We don't want to say things like we're going to make you more valuable to the marketplace. They might leave. Well, how about creating a culture where they won't want to leave? But this was real. Now, that was a year ago. We'll see what happens in Davos this year. So that's the reality of it. And, I wish I could say, I know companies right now that are flying on their implementations. Employees are experimenting. They don't have any fear. I know those companies. NVIDIA is one of them. Okay, and some people might say, well, NVIDIA, Of course, everybody there is making tons of money. They're multimillionaires. They were a great company when you didn't know they were NVIDIA. They were on our list.
Yeah.
And at that place, people are fearless because it's a transparent company. Jensen says whatever he needs to say. He's always transparent in telling the truth. And people know that and they respect him. And when he says turn left, they turn left because they have super high trust. And there are other companies like that. So, it's for low trust workplaces. It's just like somebody companies will say, hey, our trust score is here. We need to have high trust in a year. I'm like 3 years at best.
That's so interesting. I wish we had so much more time because that's the beginning. Maybe we'll have you back for another podcast because, I think what's going to happen, with this is that the companies that don't have the high trust or even the moderate trust, as you said, they're going to fail with these implementations. And I hope that it'll be sort of a reckoning for leadership where they realize, oh my gosh, like these things that we sort of push to the side really matter. Okay, so last question, because we usually end with the question that I asked before about I'm an HR leader, what do I do? And so instead, I'm going to ask you this question: what are the strongest lessons that have stood out to you from what you've seen with Great Places to Work as it relates to AI in their culture? Something to leave our audience with.
I think that there are some leaders who have, there's a manifesto around that comes from Andreessen Horowitz, one of the leading AI investor in the world. And they talk about this abundance culture, which is all the things AI is going to do for the world. It's going to solve healthcare problems, aging problems, and so on. And this is what a lot of technologists believe. And when I read it, I'm concerned because I'm like, I don't think they're talking about everyone. I think they're talking about some people, like super rich technologists. That's what causes me some concern, when I read that. And so the amount of money that's going to get made from AI will be mind-boggling. We will have many trillionaires for the first time in the history of the world. That is going to happen. It's already on its way today. Some names I won't mention today, but that is in play. Well, if that continues, then at some point, the movement towards AI is just going to stall out because people are going to realize, oh, I see what this is. So great leaders are talking about abundance for all. Great leaders are talking to all their employees about, let's get on board. We're going to make you more valuable. We're going to give you options for you and your family. Because the likelihood is over the next 15, 20 years of your career, you're going to work 10 places. And it's not going to be looked upon negatively, like you're moving, job hopping. That is old thinking. It's going to be you're moving from important project to important project because of the skills you have and the way you've been able to adapt this new technology. So, and you're going to get paid more money because you're going to be more valuable. If you don't have these skills, you're not going to be valuable. And then you're going to be hoping that there's some kind of a, assistance program that some of the tech people talk about. But people don't want to be at home getting money for doing nothing. People want to work. Work brings dignity. So I think it's about leaders that are really for all minded. And if you are just thinking about the one shareholder, you're not for all minded. You can't have prosperity when the water's not clean, the air's not breathable, and so on. In order to make the most money possible in the future, we need a healthy planet. So get out of short-term thinking, think of long-term thinking. And I think there are visionary leaders who are thinking this way. We need more that are thinking this way.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your insights with us. And oh my gosh. And thanks to our listeners for joining the AI+HI Project. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow us wherever you get your podcast, leave a review, share. It makes a big difference. And visit SHRM.org/AI+HI for more. Thanks for joining, everyone, and we'll see you next time.